Okay, so last week I was talking about the stages of recording. I didn't go deep into the signal to noise ratio. That's a whole other video, but I actually gave you a good guide for you to really understand how to push your digital levels, having always a lot of headroom without running into distortion. Never. This time I will be talking again, this is a video that's completely DAW agnostic, and it should work with all of the audio interfaces that have some sort of monitor control software that's independent from your DAW. In my case, for this video, I will be using the Claret 8X Pre, or whatever the order of those letters are. But the thing that you will be doing and you will be seeing in this video applies to every single software because it's the mindset and the concept that matter. Straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and let's learn some creative routing using your audio interface. So, maybe I'm recording this session, right? And this hasn't been recorded yet, and I want to set up some proper monitoring for the musicians. Please remember that if the musician is comfortable when playing by listening themselves properly, they will give you the best performance. That's your highest priority. I know the mic position has to be great. I know the matching of the levels. I know the preamp with the microphone has to be great, but nothing compares with having good monitoring for the musicians. Nothing beats that. Before I go into my DAW, again, I have to go into my software control of my audio interface, where maybe you have different outputs. I have 10 available outputs. They are all mono available. 7 and 8 can be stereo because they are the frontal headphone outputs, and I can use those as stereo. But most of the times it won't be a massive difference if you are not using stereo monitoring for every single musician. It might help with experience, but it won't make it or break it. Levels are so much more important. So in this case, first thing is, this is a guide, like we have to make a list. First, name things. My output 3 will be for the bass player, my output 4 will be for the guitar player, my output 5 will be for the drummer. That's that. Then, all of these upper part are my hardware inputs. If I unmute this, they will listen straight from the preamp, their microphones, with no latency because they are not listening to themselves after running through the DAW. If your singer asks for some reverb, for example, it doesn't matter if they are listening their vocal straight from the preamp, because the reverb itself has small milliseconds that you will lose from the pre-delay, and you can just use one inside of your DAW and send it to a digital output and also send it to the vocalist, and it won't get in the way as long as this is 100% effect with no clean signal in it. This is going to look really strange at first because I'm doing really conservative levels. One of the things that I have learned across enough years working in this is that you don't want to break the ears of anyone. So as you can see, I'm only having this level up, and that's because those are of my main speakers or my own headphones, whatever the case is. And all of the sends for the musicians are at minus infinite. I don't need to have them muted if I only have them at minus infinite. And I will give you this framework for you to more or less set up the levels of the musicians. Whatever they need to listen the most, they should be around minus 12 full scale. In this case, because the metering of the Focusrite control is in dBs full scale. The metering of your audio interface software is not dB full scale. Please check, but there should be some sort of similar level that's close to minus 18 to minus 12 range, and that's healthy enough because whenever they really start playing, they will really get higher, a lot higher than that. So you don't want to be like taking their in-ears mid-show or mid-recording because they can't handle the level that you set up for them. For the bass player, they really need bass and kick drum because that's the main reference. I won't be sending snare because it will bleed from the overheads, so I will just move in ranges first that aren't so small of 6 dB. So in my first level of my bass and my kick are around minus 12, my next instrument would be around minus 18. If I have to go a lot lower, I will have to go all the way down to -24, and then I can adjust in smaller amounts of 3 dBs. Most of the times, for most scenarios, smaller scenarios especially like this, 2 dBs won't make a difference, 1 dB, 1 dB and a half won't make much of a difference. This is a really simple monitoring situation. But remember, these are the microphones straight into their headphones. Same thing for the guitar player, and remember to name always everything so you are never lost with whatever you're doing. Whatever you're not using, just lower the fader or mute the channel, the track, or whatever you're not using if you can't remove it. Once you have set that up, always save some sort of snapshot of that so you can recall that when it's set up. Probably not yet functional ideally to 100%, but that's the thing that you have to do. What I would do is, again, start racing, checking with myself, not with the musician, so I won't blast no one's ears, is around -12, and from there, I would start bringing the level a little bit up. It's always better for them to ask a little bit more instead of a lot less, because especially if they're going with in-ears, it can be painful. These are really conservative levels, I know. So let's get a little bit more creative. This is only the microphones of them playing straight into their in-ears. I would have to be able to listen to any of them at any level that I might need, but again, I have this small mixer. I won't change number 5 because that's fitting the recording. But now I have these digital outputs that I will use creatively. If I need to set up a click track in any DAW, like just set it and take advantage of some features that I don't think I have seen too many people taking advantage of. For example, I can group all of my drums with something like auxiliary drums, auxiliary bass, auxiliary guitar, auxiliary vocal, and whatever any other instruments you need to fit to them because they're playing along or the click they needed to play along. You can disable this from the master send. That means that they won't go into this output 1 and 2. That would be this output 1 and 2 of your software control audio interface. And now you can start assigning this one by one, maybe outputs 1 and 2, if you want to listen in your main headphones stereo. And you can start assigning your audio hardware outputs. It's probably best if you do it mono in this case because I need probably more outputs. So I will send this to 3 and it will be sent mono. I don't mind. I will add another hardware output to 4. And remember, this isn't necessarily the same instruments that you are already recording. This could be some extra information that you might need from the session. And you also have to have available anything from the main session. That way, you can use, for example, if only the bass player asks for more click, I usually use my playback 3 as the click. So I would do something like this, click, and I would start again around -12, -18. And from here, I would unmute it and start racing it. So everyone has exactly the same instruments available with their own mix available. For me, I can always check, as any recording engineer would need to, preamp stage if there is any noise coming from the cable itself, or I could unmute my playback 1 and 2 to actually check what's being recorded into the multitrack. Because what I want to be sure of is that I'm not recording with some errors, glitches, or artifacts because it's suffering from some overload of processing or anything like that. This framework of dealing with monitoring lets you get really creative with home studio audio interfaces, keep on practicing your signal flow, and have the most comfortable situation ever for your musicians. Also remember that the last bonus that could really make it for the musicians is that some of these softwares have a digital app version for your mobile, right? So for example, here, if any of the clients has an iPhone or an iPad with them, they can just switch to the Focusrite Control app. I can give them access to connect, and they can handle their own levels, and they can do their own mix for themselves without you touching them. And again, the most important thing that will make or break your recording will not be the specific microphone that you don't have. If the musicians are listening to themselves properly, this will bring out the best interpretation and execution of the music that they are playing. I will leave in the description of this video other videos that I have done. This is a series of videos that I started to make on how to really handle a recording session, and I will add the recording modes, built-in Reaper video as well. I have some editing videos. Even if you feel like you don't have enough flexibility, probably one of your friends that's coming to record might have some sort of ADAT, SPDIF audio interface that you might hook up through digital audio and send virtually the cables to them, and they can do their own monitoring with their own audio interface straight into their headphones. There are so many ways to get creative in the actual scenario of smaller studios and smaller home studios, every single person learning their own sound with their own audio interface. If you like this kind of videos, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because I keep on uploading videos every single week. Straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and thanks for listening.